Hey everyone, this is Olay from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Here we are once again. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another Sunday of LYS Free Student Mentoring. As always, I am Olay here with my good friend Festus. Festus, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well, man. Just you had a really exciting weekend, kind of almost overload from, you was there.
Yeah.
So we did NAMC AfroFest. That's NAMC's kind of my way of giving back to my direct community, Nigerian community. And then, so that was super dope. I heard it was a great turnout, a great event. Right now, people are raving. A lot of like small businesses were able to come out, do their thing. They had a group from Rwanda come out to do some singing and some dancing, and
wow,
it was like that. So that was just super dope. Being a part of that. Sometimes, when you're volunteering, it's tough in a way because sometimes we just want to be out there and enjoy, and then you have to somebody has to put that together and build that. And so that was kind of what that was like. And then obviously being able to go to Demilade's birthday party was dope. So yeah, Jamark joins us again. What's up, Jamark?
Hello, how y'all fellas doing?
Good, man.
The doctor is in.
The doctor.
The doctor will see you shortly. Wonderful. All right. So you ready for us to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All righty. Folks, as always, if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's going to be LYS Students or _LYS. That's on Instagram. On Facebook, it's going to be Laddering Your Success. Just type that into the search bar. You'll get access to these LYS Free Student Mentoring sessions. You'll get access to any of our posts, any new and exciting events that are coming up. That's where you can get that if you are on Facebook. On YouTube, just type in Laddering Your Success into YouTube. You can see all of our old videos. So interviews that Festus has done with students who have gotten scholarships, people who have changed careers, so many things that people have done as far as finding their own path to success. We have access to a lot of those videos there on YouTube as well. Be sure to subscribe and check a look into that gallery. On TikTok, LYSB No Do. We've got a lot of content coming up. Just finished working on some stuff. So actually after this call, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be working on some content to be putting that out there. We were just talking about, if you want to send us an email, if you have a church function, a youth function, a school function that you would like for us to come and talk to your students about, talk to your young people about. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything with Laddering Your Success, please send us an email at info@ladderingyoursuccess.com. Discord is coming soon. We're going to be working on this. We're going to be learning more and more about bots. Yes, all that fun stuff. So we got Discord coming soon. And if you love what we are doing, if you love coming in, if you love seeing us on Sundays, if you love seeing our TikToks, if you love seeing our content, please $ Laddering Your Success on Cash App. Laddering Your Success on Cash App. So for the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about college financing issues and changes coming in 2002, right? We've talked about federal student loan forgiveness, student loan debt forgiveness, right? And all the stuff that it's caused. And, people are happy, right? And also people are mad because people are like, I worked hard, I budgeted, I made sure I did what I had to do to pay off my debt. And now you're basically, people are just getting it forgiven. There have been so many arguments placed on it, right? So we've discussed a little bit into that. We talked about what you need to do as a freshman in high school, a sophomore in high school, a junior and a senior in high school to make sure that you are putting yourself in the right position to get funding for college, right? Because when you talk about a lot of the people that we serve with LYS, first generation, right? And so for those of you who don't know first generation is your parents came from another country and they came here and they had you here. That makes you a first generation child. And the reason why that's so important is a lot of data shows that there are certain access to things that first generation students don't have, that students who have been here for multiple generations, or their parents, they have multiple generations that have been here, have access to, that first generation students do not. So you got first generation non-traditional, that single parent home, that could be no parent at all, that could be living with a certain circumstance, living with a handicap. All of those things make it non-traditional. It's harder for those first generation, non-traditional minority students getting access to a lot of this information, right? And so we asked the question, can you still get scholarships or financial aid after you've been accepted into college? I don't know if I've asked this, but I just wanted to start here because we have 2 more questions before we go into our next topic. So Festus, I know we have a lot of parents and a lot of people that we meet who are like, hey, this is my son, he's a senior. Oh, cool, man. What college are you going to? Oh no, he's a senior in college. Oh, okay, cool. And he's trying to get money for college. Oh, you about 6, 7 years too late? I remember someone asked me that at the church. I'm like, can you still get money? But Festus, we always talk about the fact that it goes much further. We always like to think about those in high school, but we don't think about those that get access to us, who meet us. We don't think about those who find out about getting money for college like this until they get to college.
Yeah.
So is it still possible for you to get some funds, some scholarships, some financial aid outside of the Pell Grant once you're in college?
Yeah. So this is a tough topic, because just like with anything, the more prepared or the sooner you take action, the better. It's kind of like that old saying, measure twice, cut once. And so by being proactive, right, you can save the most. And, because this is technically kind of part 3 for those who've been listening. If you've kind of been listening, I did not get into dollars as much. I didn't get into actual numerics. Why is that? Because oftentimes when it comes to education, we try to make it about dollars and cents, but the reality is, when you really, really sit down and think about it, like, education is really inexpensive, right? Because how much does it cost to read a book?
It's free.
It's free, right? So
Absolutely.
so the actual transaction of knowledge and information, it's actually very, very low cost, right? It's all the other things that surround it that increase the cost. So, for example, if we talk about book, well, that book, you usually have to get it from somewhere. It's usually sitting on a shelf. So it's sitting on a shelf in a bookstore. It's sitting on a shelf in the library. Sitting on a shelf in somebody's home. At the Scholastic Book Fair. Who remembers the Scholastic Book Fair, right?
Oh, shout out to them overpriced products.
You remember you had your little 50 cent and okay, I'm gonna get all the little Goosebumps books, but then I'm gonna buy a ruler. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to hurt them with that glow in the dark bookmark, boy.
Yeah, hurt them. Exactly. So that's the thing. So why is it not like that when it comes to college, right? And so this is a big debate, because you could actually get a free degree from, I think it's educatethepeople.com, or now I think they changed their name to peopleu.org. And so some top-notch schools have contributed to this. MIT, Harvard, their classes are actually free in this. But the problem is, it doesn't allow accreditation, right? And so that's where things get challenging, right? Because a lot of people are saying, well, what gets me paid for the education? And that's where the difference really comes in, right? Is I need to get a piece of paper or certification or degree from somewhere that says I'm qualified to do certain things that people will give me money for. And that's where things get a little bit expensive, because a college now wants to build an atmosphere. They want a basketball team, a football team, a swim team, a cheerleading squad. And all of those things that are auxiliary to education is what drives up the cost of education. Okay. And so that's why I really try to separate just doing the numbers, right? Because you could easily sit down and draft up the numbers if you know how to add and subtract and multiply. Those are the three things you need, right? Is you take whatever the tuition is and you subtract the scholarship or the grant amount, and then you multiply that times the amount of time you're going to spend at the institution. And that's how you could find your tuition cost. Because, and this is the thing I think everybody kind of needs to walk away with from this discussion we've been having a couple of weeks. The tuition cost on the piece of paper, right, or the computer screen does not equate to everybody's cost of attending that institution, right? Because, you know, Jamar could get some grants or some scholarships, and that could reduce his costs. But then, you know, Susie over here did not do the things Jamar did. And that's the real difference maker. And so that's the thing I really hope people took away from this conversation. So now I'm going to tackle your particular question.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. You know, if there's one thing I love, it's something free. I'm talking free 99, un gratis. No shipping or handling fees, no gotcha fees, nothing like that. With that being said, if you're graduating soon or thinking about college or need a nudge or help to decide, then our free ebook, 10 Things to Think About Before Going to College, has a very balanced and open-minded way of presenting your next steps. It captures broad topics in a personal way by giving students an insightful, interactive, and reflective source of inspiration. It is very beneficial to be able to visualize some of the concepts after high school and apply them directly to you. We all know life, college, and career planning decision-making choices for students can be challenging, especially as they near the completion of high school. This book will provide you with a self-paced guide to your success beyond academics and into real life. Not only is it free, you can complete this book within a week. This will definitely prepare you for long-term success. To get your free copy, simply go to lys.com/students. I mentioned it was free, right? Well, if I didn't, it's free. Like, for real, for real. Okay, back to the podcast.
If you're a senior, if you're getting ready to graduate, how can you capitalize on financial opportunities to pay down college? For people who are like in Jamar's case, right, where you're getting a PhD or something like that, a lot of them become teacher's assistants. So that's one huge way of reducing your overall cost. Or sign up to be part of a grant, right? So, and what do I mean by that? So institutions, learning institutions have different charges. And what do I mean by charges is, like, for example, a university can have a charge over certain research that they have to perform. And so they get grants for that research. So for example, the University of Michigan is well known for a lot of the research that comes out of there. And so they need students, they need people to sign up to do those grants, right? To do that research. And so the thing is, oftentimes they're granted stipends for their master's degrees or their PhDs in order to sign up. So you become what's called a teaching fellow in some of these institutions, right? Or an academic fellow, where you're now helping to do and perform research that then helps the university out. And that's where the financial transactions happen for those people who are seniors and graduate students, right? And so, because what they will usually do is they'll usually give you a stipend, and sometimes they will give you free tuition there for your classes in order for you to be there, right? Because they need it to be student-based research in order to do that research. And so those are the opportunities you have to really look for. Now, and this is the part that I think is really tough for people. If you're not studying something that you really are passionate about and really want to do, why would you do the research, right? And so that's why, again, it's better for people to start early. Like, on our way back home today, you know, Keisha and I were kind of having a conversation about our kids. And I'm like, yo, you know, we got a 3 and 4 year old. It's about that time to start saving for college. Start thinking about it. And I'm like, am I going to push my guys to go to college? I do want them to get a higher education, but am I going to push them to a 4-year institution? Probably not. Does that mean I'm not going to start saving and preparing for it? No, it does not. Right? I'm gonna do my best to like put them in a position that they can say, I want to go or I don't want to go. Right? But again, because reading books is free, I'm going to get them as well prepared and educated as possible because I want them to be lifelong learners anyway. So I know that was kind of a long way around your question, but I was kind of recapping some of what we talked about and hopefully tying some things into what we've talked about in previous weeks. Thank you. Let me get that person's name for your comment about us having a great conversation. We appreciate you. If you think other people need to hear this, hit the like button, hit the share button. That helps us out, with the algorithm. So yeah, let me turn it over. Jamark, you got something to say? Olay, you want to?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jamark. You got something to say about that?
No, not at the moment. You guys are doing awesome.
All right. All right. So next question here. What if you feel like you're too young to even start thinking about your future or what your purpose is? And you kind of actually answered that just a little bit when you were talking about people going to school for things that they're not necessarily passionate about. I'll give you a quick example.
That's that telepathy, bro. Telepathy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I don't even know if that's the right word. Is telepathy the one where you're reading the mind?
That was a scene from The Office. I'm trying to remember. He was like, I think I have telekinesis. And she was like, are you trying to say telepathy? Yeah, that one. I can't remember. I'm doing it wrong, but yeah. I went to school for finance. I went to school for finance because someone told me I could be a financial analyst and I can make $85,000 a year. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I want to do that. Really didn't like math. Being a financial analyst required you to be pretty good at math. I enjoyed it. I like the business aspect of getting my degree. I enjoyed the connections. I enjoyed the campus atmosphere. But, overall, I was just there to, I was with the Joneses, if you will. I get out into the work field. I start working in accounting. I don't even work in finance. I end up in accounting. So I do something that I hate probably even more than finance. All I do is look at Excel spreadsheets all day, deal with people who don't know how to properly communicate. And I hate my job. And, I end up getting laid off. Just like, Festus was just telling the story earlier, by the time I was already bartending, Festus had written the book and I read the book, and that really helped me figure out a plan to find my purpose. And it was through that helped me figure out that, hey, maybe that thing you keep talking about teaching and your friends, I think the thing that really helped me was understanding that anything I teach my friends, they end up better than me at whatever that thing is. Clemente is a perfect example. I love cologne. I love colognes. I love all the colognes. And one day Clemente was like, yeah, man, you know a lot about colognes. What can you teach me about colognes? I was like, oh man, sit down, young pupil. Let me school you in the world of colognes. You got the EDTs and you got the EDPs. The reason why people like more EDPs because of higher oil concentration. A higher oil concentration means it's going to last on your skin a little bit longer throughout the day. You get the different levels. Are you a citrus? You're Asian, you like the woodsy, foresty. There's different smells for different seasons. I just gave him a little bit of game. A couple years later, he has the world's largest cologne collection. And he comes and I'm like, man, where'd you get all this? Bro, man, you taught me about this. I'm like, what? I taught you about this? I haven't even seen these. And some of these, I've seen these and I never buy them because they're so expensive. So that's the cool thing. Like when you start to understand, like, people just have these natural gifts and figuring them out and helping them figure out your purpose. It saves you a lot of money because if I would have went for education like I should have, I could have gone to a program while I was still in high school. I could have known about just knocking as much as I could at HCC. I'm pretty sure I could have gotten scholarships because in my mind, I was like, ain't no way I'm getting scholarships. When for some scholarships requirements is very small, right? And so I've talked enough, so I'll let you guys talk. But yeah, it was just really poignant to see those things.
Yeah, Jamar, you want to go first before I tap in?
Yes, I mean, a purpose. I feel like that was something from my personal experience that I didn't know for myself. And I feel like this is a topic that affects most students who are thinking about going to college because we can definitely waste time and money while we are in college trying to figure this out. And I believe that the more information us as students have about how careers work or what our purpose or goal is, I feel like there is a big disconnect from within public school education and us being successful as people. I feel like public education is set up to where we aspire to continue to be employees. And I feel like the long-term goal is should be for us as, just people to decrease the amount of time that we spend trading our time for money and creating ways to build our own wealth. I feel like trading our time for money, yes, we should do something that we're passionate about, but that should just be a means to an end to eventually get to the point to where we trade our time for money less or build our own generational wealth. For me, when I went to school, I was really good at drawing. So I went to school for animation. I majored in animation for about 3 years until I realized this is something that I did not want to do. I could not see myself doing this. And so I switched to education. And unfortunately, I had to start over from scratch. And it was the best decision that I ever made because it is something that I'm passionate about. But the thing is, even though I'm passionate about teaching and I'm continuing my education within the teaching field, I'm still realizing that what's best for me financially is to eventually stop trading my time for money because even though I'm passionate about this, I'm still limited by my financial income to do certain things that I would like to do or prepare a future for, my children and the family and things of that nature. I'm still challenged by certain things. And so I'm learning as I'm getting older, there's other ways to build generational wealth while I am living within my purpose. And so I also have a link here that I'm gonna kind of like just share to where people can avoid making a similar mistake that I made and educate themselves on certain careers. And this link, when you type in any career, it gives you all kind of information about these careers, what it takes to be a certain whatever. So if it's a computer engineer, they have all the different type of computer engineers there are, and it gives you so much information. So when you are thinking about your purpose and what you like to do, you can make an informed decision. It lets you know about the educational requirements, important quality and skills, the work environment, the job outlook. If it is this current job, is it projected to grow in the future or is it projected to decline in the future? So I feel like this is very, very important information for any student trying to figure out their purpose in life.
Man, that's a whole chocolate bar. that's you know what I'm saying? What an Eminem, you 16 bars harder than Eminem. You know what I'm saying? like, you remember the Renegade? I don't know if y'all remember Renegade. With like, was it like DMX, Jay-Z, Eminem? That's like his bars harder than Renegade. Renegade. Yeah, you remember that, right?
Oh yeah, because
so
I'm
yeah.
a renegade. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is so dope. And I love the way that you kind of laid it out there. And I did share that link that you put in on Facebook Live. So anybody who's watching on Facebook Live, you can get that link to the Occupational Outlook Handbook. That is a phenomenal resource that is underutilized. And I agree with you 100%. Is like one thing we're not taught enough is how to leverage our skills. Now, one aspect comes from how education was formed in the United States, right? Because the United States a lot of people, because we're like in a bubble, right? And what I mean by that is like, we're born into our family, which is born into a community, which is born into society, right? And it just so happens that it's like, we only know what we are exposed to from that family, society, community, and then society. And so a lot of people don't understand this about American education, is that for college, it is only the US that really has this huge student debt problem, because most other countries, you pay for college out of pocket. And so that means that the tuition has to be relatively affordable, within reach, to be able to pay. And so a big thing for those who haven't gotten our scholarship guidebook, you could go get our scholarship guidebook, www.ladderinyoursuccess.com, if you're a parent/parents, if you're student/students. And that in that guidebook, we talk about learning overseas, right? So a lot of people, which is called studying abroad is the actual term. A lot of people choose to study abroad because it reduces their overall tuition burden. Now, there's some catch-22s to that, right, of studying abroad. Those programs have to be accepted by the university that you're going to. So you can't just be like university hopping. There's a lot of people who try to do that stuff. But that's one way of being able to lower your overall tuition. So a lot of people right now, Germany's a hot place to study abroad to. Ireland's a hot place to study abroad to. And so, yeah, and usually when a person comes back with a study abroad degree, it's just like, oh, you graduated from there? Cool. But for certain jobs, again, especially this is like in the medical field, is huge, is like, if you do not have the right accreditations, then we're not going to allow you to perform those skills here. And so, let's do a screen share real quick. We're going to whiteboard it up. So this is, again, why you should register and come on, because if you register and come on, you're going to get so much more out of these sessions than if you're just watching, because then that way we can answer your questions and stuff like that too. Plus you get access to the whiteboard. Okay, so let me see. I'm gonna draw with my finger. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the Ikigai again, okay? So the Ikigai. So you have purpose, you have need. Let's see, need, and then you have, because this is what am I good at, or what gives me meaning, what gives me purpose. Then you have what does the world need, and then you have what will the world pay for, right? And so again, just kind of, and I'm going to use what Jamark said as an example, is like, okay, he is really good at art. So he says, man, I'm really good at art. I'm artistic. But then he says, wow, even though I'm artistic, I really don't want to do this, because I want to do something else. I want to do something that gives me a little bit more meaning. So then there's education, right? So I'm gonna just put ed here in our little Venn diagram. So that's going to be short for education. So how can we use this Ikigai? This is what this thing is called for those who are Ikigai, right? I think I spelled that right. Ikigai. It's a Japanese term. You can look it up. There's some great YouTube videos on it. A person, if in like Jamark's case, just as his example, he could say, man, I could be an art teacher, right? Boom. That ties together two things that I'm passionate about, two things I'm love, two things I'm good at. And boom, that's a career, right? But then he says, man, how much do art teachers get paid? Whatever a teacher gets paid. So let's say that's 50,000, right? I'm just being hypothetical here, right? Because again, it depends on your location, all those different types of things. But then he says, man, I don't think I could fully support and do everything I want to do based off of just $50,000, right? I need more. And the only way of getting more money in education is either I need to get more degrees, which is going to cost me more money, or I need to get more experience, which is going to take me more time, right? So this is where kind of understanding the industry comes into play. But now he says, you know what? I like art. I like education. What is something else I can do that can get me more money? What if over here, right, which I tie in, I'm going to be a YouTube animator. So obviously YouTube is a big thing and people need to make their YouTube videos. And I, Jamark, don't have the time nor the desire to sit up here and make a whole bunch of YouTube videos for me. But I wonder how many people out there need good animations for their YouTube. And so maybe I could go get a product, right? See how I'll just be giving out this game. I could go get a product like Toonly, right? That allows me to do animations and create cartoons pretty easily and cheap. It's like $100. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna hop in about 50 YouTubers DMs. And I'm gonna say, hey, I will make your animations for your videos. You know, you pay me $50 an hour, right? And there are some people like the guy, Mr. Beast. Y'all ever heard of Mr. Beast? He's one of the highest YouTube video makers, who he spends 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 for a thumbnail picture for his YouTube. He spends upwards of, I think I heard the highest he spent was like $50,000 for the right thumbnail picture for his YouTube. So a person who's like Mr. Beast, will he pay for the right animator? Absolutely. Now you have to think about it. How many other people are underneath Mr. Beast? You see what I'm saying? And so this is where Jamarcus said, man, you know what? Again, I have the skill. I'm really good at it. I teach education. Maybe I'm going to turn that into like YouTube animation. And, you know, but again, when hearing what Jamarc said, he said, man, I'm tired of trading my time for money, right? You heard what he said. I don't want to trade time for money. And if I'm doing this route, it's going to take me time. Now, and see, this is going to get so saucy. I hope you're listening to this. This is about to get saucy because I know, Jamarc, I'm going to need a cut from this. What you get this, okay? Just a little cut. So Jamarc says, well, what if I reverse it? Instead of using my artistic ability, what if I use my education ability to create an online course for animators, and I sell the online course, so that way I don't got to be there. See, I know how to frame and set the coursework because I know how to do that for an educator. I make lesson plans every day. I know how to follow and create a curriculum. So what if I just made a curriculum for artistic people and show them and say, I'm going to show you how to use Toonly to create the best animations for your course. And so now I can sell the course. So I don't got to be there. Jamarc doesn't have to be there. He could just sell it. I see he pulled out a pen, right? So now I can sell that course for $200 a pop, $300, $500 a pop, right? Because there's certain people who maybe they're not the Mr. Beast of the world that spend $15,000, $20,000 for a thumbnail. Maybe they're going to do it themselves for a while. Or maybe there's other people who are like, man, I wish I could animate for these YouTube videos, and they need the skill set. So you see what I'm saying? That's how we leverage our skill set, understanding the marketplace to be able to then increase our income. So now his only thing is, how do I get these people who need these courses? And then he could easily say, well, let me give a cut. Let me go find a marketing person. Let me find an online advertiser who says, hey, look, I want you to do, you know, I'm going to pay you $20 a week, $50 a week to run these ads for these animators and do my animator course. And so now he's no longer trading his time for money because he created a product that he could sell again and again and again and again and again. And he could literally run that because the knowledge base is not really going to change much, you know, from moment to moment. Animation is kind of animation, right? Artistic design is artistic design. And so that's how you leverage your skill set or your knowledge based off what the world needs. What are you good at? What's your meaning and purpose? And then what do you need? So again, when it comes to education, as we take that route to figure out what it is we want to do eventually, right? We also have to take the system into account and what the system is trying to force me to do, because this is becoming very, very stressful, especially for our generation, where you got student loans, you got aging parents, you got high interest rates, you got all of these different factors that are bearing down on us. So with that, I'm gonna kind of cap it and turn it back over.
Man, absolutely wonderful points, man. I mean, by both of y'all. You know, as Crawford was talking, I had to type this down. because like you said, he went in, man. It was almost like also Eminem at the end of that
8 Mile.
that Drake song. No,
I
no, no,
ju-
that Drake song. Here they go. Back in stadiums, and say he splits his foe. Now they go. Nah, 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 nah. I was like, man, go Crawford. Because he said that our current school model is training our students to aspire to be employees. And that is so powerful, because you have to think about the mindset of the average employee. The mindset of the average employee is very docile. It's very like, you know, almost, I hate to say it, almost like a slave, right? Because we can't go, I don't want to go into it because it's still a, you know, we're going for, we're going for high schoolers, but if you look at the way economies are created, there's some form of, you know, financial slavery, right? You're slave to to credit card debt, you know, to this, that, you know, this, that, this, that, or the other.
MasterCard. That's why they call it MasterCard.
Let's call it, wow. And you know what? I'm looking, I got my cards right here. Thank God I don't have a MasterCard here. But that's so crazy. Absolutely, man. But, you know, I started thinking about like, how does the average employee think? And there's a certain way that they think, right? And so when you think about those who are more, who have more of an entrepreneurial mind, those who want to go out and create their own money, there's a different way that they think. And me and Crawford, actually, we always talk about this. You know, I really do. I thank God for Crawford, because I always just sneak into his classroom sometime and just either say what's up or just ask him if I have a question about something. There was a day that we were talking, and I recently did this with our science project. Their test was literally just creating a type of circuit. It wasn't the paper, multiple choice, write it down. I gave them wires, light bulbs, power sources, batteries, and I said, y'all go and y'all create. Because I was just like, I'm tired of the same, you know, just writing it down. Use your hands, use your brain, use your collaborative skills. Go out there and work. And I'm, it's like, what is the end goal here? Do you want them to just be like these, you know, people who can just, you know, circle A, B, C, or D, or E and just go about their business? Or do you want them to actually have an independent mind, an independent mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset, so they can go out and create for themselves, right? And so I think that's very, very key. Also, the idea of decreasing our time, creating our own money, and making it for others. That's one of the key actions of an employee, right? You're decreasing your time output to make money for yourself, but you're doing that for some other people. I believe it was like however much you're getting paid. I can't remember the amount, but there's a multiplier effect where you're actually making that much more for the company. Do you remember that, Festus or Crawford?
No, I don't know the actual term, but I do
Okay.
know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking
Absolutely.
about. Yeah.
So just really, really, really strong points there. And then one more quick thing. I had a question here. What if that thing or that something that you're passionate about does not require you to go to college? Because when Crawford sent that link over, I went ahead and I looked at a couple things, and I looked at electrician. I saw that to become an electrician, because I was telling my kids about this. That's insulators and conductors, and you just got to know series and parallel circuits. And I was telling them it does
You
not
always
require
say
college.
you always say something so amazing that I'm like, what is he talking about?
Crawford knows what I'm talking about. Crawford knows what I'm talking about.
I'm like, whoa, my mind is blown here. What's going on?
But this is the thing. This is what we are teaching fifth graders right now. God willing, if I go and say one of my kids, what's a series circuit? What's a parallel circuit? You know, they can tell you that. So if they're fascinated by that, it only requires a high school diploma. How do you learn? On the job training, apprenticeship. So are there things out there? I'm pretty sure if you look hard, I know I've heard of the IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and things like that. Are there things like that for jobs or careers that don't necessarily require college or university?
Absolutely, there are, and I know we wanted to start segueing into our next topic. So I'll try to answer this and segue into the next topic.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Of reducing teacher stress. So the thing is, there are, and usually they are unions. So for example, there's plumbers unions, there's electrical workers unions. These used to be called guilds back in the day. So for example, not even thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, they would call it a guild, right? And these different guilds had the smiths, right? The word smith, so blacksmith, right? Those were the type of things where it's like, I'm teaching you a skill, and then you go out and leverage that skill. There's pros and cons to that, right? What are some of the pros? The pros are, hey, you're learning from somebody who knows their stuff, right? Where you're a journeyman and you're learning from that person who knows this stuff. The cons to that is even some of these unions, in order to protect themselves, they bar you from doing certain things. So what ends up happening is they might say, well, you need to come learn from us for 3 years or 4 years before you go out and implement the skill for yourself, which can be good and it can be bad, right? It depends on if you really like doing that thing. And this is where I'm not a person to say you need to go do this versus do that. I'm saying you need to get all the education you can all the time, become a lifelong learner, because maybe you need to learn enough about how to start a business, how to network, and then enough of how to be an electrician, and merge those two together and say, look, okay, I just want to get enough money to start an electrical business rather than me go out and be doing this for 6 years or 8 years or whatever, right? And a good example of this that I've seen was, I met a guy in my apartment complex, and this guy kind of was just always hanging out. I'm like, hey, you know, kind of what do you do? And he was like, oh, I started a business to do small jobs in this community. And the small jobs were like odd jobs, right? Like nobody calls an electrician to just change out one like light bulb, right? You wait until a whole bunch. So most people just sit in their house with that like one thing going out. And so his business was like, Olay's like, I like, so anyway, so his business was like, I'm gonna come change the one light bulb out. I'm gonna come change the one fan that you need to change. I'm gonna do, so he was doing all these little knickknacks. And so what he would do is he would stack up 2 or 3 jobs at a person's house. And he grew this to where he ended up having 3 or 4 guys working for him. And then eventually somebody asked him, hey, can you supervise building this garage? And he charged a guy $80,000 to build a garage. And then that set him up for retirement. And he took all that money. And so he said he still owned the business, but he had an assistant and these other people working for him. So they're still working for him in this small town somewhere. And he was just like living his life, because that set him up enough to where he could just kind of, and the guy was like 50, right? And so those are things that we could do when we know how to merge education and skill set and things like that. And now and again, that's why I love talking with you two, because you guys are passionate educators and you're trying to figure out how you can teach this to your students. And it's hard to sometimes, because it's like, I already got a mountain of things to do. And this is why we created the Laddering Success Classroom app, to basically be able to teach being, knowing, doing methodology in the classroom in the 7 unique areas of life: culture, social, vocational, financial, health and spiritual, right? And vocational. And so you want to talk a little bit more about that, Olay? I'll pass that over to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we think about why we started LYS and created that app, we tend to think about the stress that teachers go through. And it wasn't until I became a teacher and actually started to see these things kind of, what's the term? Precipitate, right? It wasn't until I started to see them precipitate that I really started to see the stress, the strain that gets put down on teachers. And this has definitely been a huge issue for a long time. We can say decades, really, but I would say especially in the last 10 years, primarily in the last 2 to 5 years, especially with COVID coming into the picture, the stress on teachers and their mental health. So when we talk about how powerful the LYS app is, and next week we're going to go in further, we're actually going to be doing more. Next week, we're going to do a tutorial. Next week, we're going to be doing a tutorial on the LYS app. When we think about the stress that teachers have been going through, just having an understanding of where these things come from right? And so I wanted to just take a look and kind of put that question out for us. What causes fear? And there's a reason why I asked this question, right? What causes fear? And as humans, we are kind of naturally disposed to fear based off of our predecessors and their awareness to their surroundings, right? Just kind of always looking around because of things, because of the unknown, because of the known, right? Things that are always around you that can potentially kill you, right? And so as we have become more industrialized, as we have become more civilized, those threats, right? We're not necessarily worried about the wolf that may come out, right, and get us, unless you live out in the forest, which I hope I can be one day. But it's more or
Dang,
less
bro.
like, yeah, I want my beard to get big. I want to move out to the forest because the city, I'm getting tired of city folk. But either that's another story for another day. Hey LYS fam, it's Olay. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show because you know it's some good topics. We're not worried about the wolves. We're more or less worried about like people, institutions, organizations, managers, admins, leaders, right? We're fearful of the future, right? And me and Festus had a really good conversation about that, about anything that's an unknown is scary to us, right? But you think about the amazing things that have happened. People have gone to space, people have flown. I see people who fly with no parachute with like suits on. And I'm just like, oh, so that's what we're doing now? We just flying with spandex suits? Like it's nothing? We just chilling in the sky? Y'all ain't worried about nothing out here? But it all goes back to that same question. What causes fear? And so I just did like a really simple search and we've talked about this several times, but I really want us to go in depth because these things kind of lead to how we came up with the app, right? If you ask teachers, some of the things they'll say low pay, right? Lack of respect. Get this, from both the community and elected officials. Excessive workloads and pandemic school disruptions, right? So especially in the last 2 or 3 years, those have been some of the main issues, right? And so I'm gonna just throw that out to you. I want to start with Jamark. I know we've talked about that a lot. I'll say it's hard to stay optimistic because it feels like it's the same. And if you look at where the future of this is going, it doesn't look bright. But that doesn't mean that we should just throw our hands up and say, nothing's going to happen, right? As teachers, we're still working within our purpose, within our passion. How do we move forward accordingly, right? So I want to throw that out to you, Jamark, and then Festus, talking about teacher stress and some of the issues that they face.
That's a very, very good question. Oh my. I feel like one of the challenges or stressors of being a teacher is basically walking within your purpose, because public school is very political. And so the advertisement for teachers is, hey, we want the best of the best. We want teachers who will come put our students first and do what's best for the students, right? So that is the advertisement. And so that reaches people who are very passionate about becoming a teacher. It's not just going to get a check. It's like, okay, I want to come here. I actually want to make a difference. And when you get in the room, the classroom or in this industry, and you see or realize the needs of the students that you're servicing, and you're like, okay, I see this is an educational need. Here, I see this is a need. And as this person who is passionate about doing whatever they can do to help these kids reach their full potential, right? You're now blocked by the powers that be because they're like, well, hold on. Why are you doing this? And when you explain why you are doing this that benefits the student, they now question it because it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing something that benefit the student, but this is not what our system says that you can do or is allowed to do, even if it's shown to be best for the child. So then it's like, wait a minute, but you told me that you want someone who will put children first and do what's best for the children. But now you're telling me I can't do this because it's not a part of the system that the powers that be said can be done, which oftentimes are not persons in the education field who have no experience. And so now it's a inner battle. Well, they don't, when I'm saying this, it's like what I'm saying makes sense, but then they have no argument to go against it. So their final line is, well, these are the system requirements, and this is what the district says you have to do. So you have to follow it, type of thing. And so those are many, many stressors because it's like, okay, I'm realizing that if I just be honest and very blunt, they don't really care about what's best for the student. It's a political game to where I feel like it's about money and other things, but that's my personal opinion. And oftentimes I go against the grain because I follow my own mind and I follow my heart, and I see these students have a need, and I'm going to do what I can do to fulfill that need. So with that said, my personal stresses are constantly being clamped down on by supervisors and administrators for having my own free mind to try to meet the needs of the students. And I'll leave it at that because I just keep going forever. I know I gotta save time for everybody else.
No,
Verse 2.
no, you're spot on. And I was just thinking as you were talking, I was like, man, I do hope that, when my kids are of that age, they could get an educator like you. You know what I mean? Because this groupthink is toxic, right? And that's the thing is like, those who studied anthropology, sociology, psychology, understand what groupthink is. And that's, we're in a circle, you're out of the circle. And so this circle thinks like this. And now you get ostracized and whiplashed and all this other stuff psychologically mainly, right? Before they used to just do it physically, right? If get in line or get a whooping, and now it's more psychological and it's turning financial. We're seeing that where, PayPal's locking people's accounts for certain things, different types of stuff like that. And you're like, whoa, wait, what's going on? And again, this is to control people in the way that they think, right? And this is the thing, and this is the part that's scary to me. And I say scary because, again, I'm the kind of person where I'm a team player. I'll go along with it. But then if you keep pushing me, once I buck back, because again, I kind of had that natural entrepreneurship tendency. So if you show me something, I'm be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then I'm gonna start thinking, is there another way I could do it? Is there another way I could do it? And then eventually I'm gonna do it this way because this is gonna get me the same results or better results anyway. And then if you like try to force the group thing on me, eventually I'm just like, I'm a bucket. You know what I'm saying? I'm a buck the system. And so, and I'll give a personal example of this, but try to stay consistent with what our conversation is about is in healthcare, we got to get CEUs, right? We got to get continuing education. And so I was getting this continuing education for this particular thing that is still kind of in line with what we're doing as therapists, because I'm trained as an occupational therapy assistant from the military. And so I was getting training in that, which is funny. A few weeks prior, my manager was talking about some research like on like senior strength, right? And like senior citizens and their lack of strength and atrophy and things like that. And so she's like, oh yeah, seniors could benefit from more strength training and resistance training, da da da. So I went and took a course on strength training, resistance training, right? Now our hospital system typically reverses CEUs, right? Up to $600. So once I came, I said, hey, I took this course. She looked at the course and she was like, no, this looks like a whole nother certification. We're not going to reimburse that, which really it came down to her management decision. And then I remember her saying these words, these exact words. She said, why would you take this course? Nobody's ever going to pay you for this. At the time, I already started my side hustle, which is actually pretty lucrative. And I was already making more money in a week doing my side hustle than I was there. And so I'm thinking, yeah, I could see how you're trying to force the group thing and keep me in this situation, right? You're just trying to corral my way of thinking. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess you're right. I got to do that to the face. But now that's telling me I'm about to go hard on this. So I'm going hard on building my, side hustle business. And as that is growing up, they start coming down with other different types of things to kind of clamp down on us, right? And try to force us to do this and do this. I said, look, and I was full-time at the time. I was doing my side hustle a couple hours a week. I said, you know what, let me go ahead and go be part-time. So I went part-time. They kept clamping down and they were like, hey, Festus, can you do this? Can you do that? Nah, I think I'm good. I'm gonna stay with these hours. So I said, I'm gonna go PRN. Like, what makes you want to go PRN? And again, PRN in the hospital world is basically you work when you're needed, but you can also have a consistent schedule sometimes. And they were like, hey, these are the options. Here, choose this option because it's the best for you, which is actually was the best for them. It wasn't the best for me. And I was like, yeah, let me get a few days to think about this, right? I went, here, this is the minimum I could work here and still be on payroll here. So give me this minimum. Are you sure? Hell yeah, I'm sure. Because at this time, I'm ready to blow this whole thing up. And the thing is, for me, just my personality and mentality, I don't want to have to come in here and call you out in the office in front of everybody because I will do it. And it takes a lot to suppress that. And I think as educators, a lot of people are in that space where it's like, I'm either going to come call you out and I know I got to pay these bills. And that's probably one of the only things that's keeping me from calling you out. But then there's also like, I really care about the kids. I'm really passionate about the kids. And that's kind of who we made the LYS app for, is those educators who are passionate, but who are a little burnt out on doing the work. And it provides supplemental learning material for the kids, character-based education. And so yes, it does come at a cost, but we have a 10-day free trial. So just hit us up, www.ladderingyoursuccess.com/teachers and get the app. If you're a Texas middle school teacher, let me be clear on that. You could also join the wait list if we don't currently have your grade level. So Olay, back to you.
Wonderful.
That was an incredible segue, by the way.
Yeah, man. Boy, that boy practiced that. That was
I've been taking nice. YouTube sales course.
Clean. I got to take that sales course for sure. But that's a perfect, it's actually a perfect segue, perfect stopping point. We're going to continue. I got a question that we're going to start next week. And then Festus, if it's okay, I think we should we've been talking about it. Let's give the people a little view and see how easy it is to get in there and create the lesson plan and add to it and put it out there.
You want to do that now or you want to do that next time?
Next week.
Next week. Okay, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Next week.
All right. For Jamar Crawford, thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much for coming, man. Just thank you. Thank you so much. Festus, I'm going to let you go ahead and do the ending. I've been butchering it the last couple of weeks. I want you to go ahead and help.
No, you're good, man. And so like we always say here, listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. He is Jamar Crawford. He is Olayinka Sharonke, and I am Festus Amoye. And we are very grateful for you all who joined us here, whether online, live, or just through the mentoring session. We appreciate you so much. And with that, we out. Be blessed.
Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS podcast.